Hi everyone, welcome to our next video on simplifying algebraic fractions. To start off, I'd like you to do a little bit of a review exercise based on last lesson. So please can you press pause and complete these 3 questions, and then we will go through them together momentarily. Just press play when you're done. Okay, thank you. Okay guys, welcome back. Let's get started on these solutions for you. Okay, so for the first one we had 4x minus 4 over x minus 1. Okay, and what we want to remember is we need to factorize the numerator and the denominator where possible. So in this case we can factorize the numerator. We take out a 4 and we're left with x minus 1. And that is all over x minus 1. You can pretend that that's in a bracket so that you can see that those relate and then can cancel out, meaning that our final answer is 4. Okay, so well done, those of you who got that one. Let's take a look at the next one. We have x plus 2, x minus 3, all over x minus 3 times the x plus 4. Okay, it should be fairly clear to see that the x minus 3's can cancel out or cancel down, and that is going to give us a final answer of x plus 2 over x plus 4. Please remember at this stage you don't need to have those brackets there anymore. Okay, all right, and we move on to question 3, which was x plus 7 squared all over x minus 3 and x plus 7. What I'd like you to remember here is that this means x plus 7 times itself. So we can write this as x plus 7 times another x plus 7, okay, all over the x minus 3 times the x plus 7, okay, and now this means that we can cancel down one of these, okay, and that gives us a final answer of x plus 7 over x minus 3. Okay, so I hope that that makes sense for our starter. Right, so we're going to move on to looking at how we can go a little bit further with this concept of simplifying our algebraic fractions. And what that requires us to do is to factorize. So in order to be able to access this material, you need to have reviewed your factorizing quadratics, okay? If you've forgotten a little bit of that, I suggest you watch some videos online and make sure that you get comfortable with it again. Obviously, I will be going through all the solutions with you today, so you will get a review of factorizing quadratics through this video as well. Okay, but let's take a look at this example. It says that we've got x squared plus 5x plus 4, and that is all over x squared minus 3x minus 28. Well, I can see that these aren't factorized. I want to do that so that I can simplify. Okay, so let's take a look at our numerator. All right, we need 2 numbers that are going to multiply to 4 but add to 5, and those numbers are a 4 and a 1. Okay, so we have x plus 4 and x plus 1. If we were to check that and we were to expand those, let's just do that on the side, x plus 4, x plus 1, we'd have x times x, which is x squared. We would have x times 1, which is x, 4 times x, which is 4x, and we would have 4 times 1, which is 4. When we simplify, that gives us x squared plus 5x plus 4, okay? And that is the same as this, so I know I've done it correctly, all right? So it's always a good idea to double check, okay? I'm not going to double check every single one in the video because then the video would probably be about, an hour and a half long, which is too long for uploading, but you guys can be double checking as you go. When you expand your factorized brackets, you should get the original quadratic, okay? So we have x plus 4, x plus 1 over, now let's take a look at this. I need 2 numbers that will multiply to negative 28, but will add to negative 3, okay? So let's have a think about that. What can multiply to give me 28? Well, that would be 4 and a 7, okay? 4 times 7 is 28. I need it to be negative, so one of these numbers is negative. Then I have to think about the sign of what I'm adding to, and that's negative 3. So I'm going to want my 7 to be negative. So that's what we're using, a 4 and a negative 7, because a 4 take away the 7 would give me the negative 3. So that gives me x plus 4 and x minus 7. Okay, what I also want you to realize is that you're always going to have two that match, at least two that match, when you are simplifying. Those two cancel down, and that leaves us with a final answer of x plus 1 over x minus 7. Okay, so another kind of technique is to factorize the top and use that as a bit of a hint for when you factorize the denominator's quadratic. Okay, I could see that one of the factors would have had to be a 1 or a 4. A 1 wouldn't have made sense. 1 times 28, the difference is 27. But the 4 does, because 4 times 7 gave us the 28 and then had a difference of 3. Okay, so use that as a little bit of a hint. If you've done the numerator, it might help you out with the denominator. Okay, so now that I've shown you how to do that, you are going to try these two questions. Please let me make that full screen for you. Can you pause now and have a go? Okay, well done, everyone. Let's get that ready for you so that we can go through the answers together. There we go. Okay, so for 7a, we were given 2 brackets x plus 3 all over x squared plus 8x plus 15. Now, I'm going to use the top as a hint, okay? Since I have an x plus 3, I know that I'm canceling down. It's pretty obvious. It says to simplify. So I'm going to have an x plus 3 here. So all I have to think about is what goes here, and that's x plus 5, y. 3 times 5 is 15. And 3x plus 5x would be 8x. Okay, so that works. The x plus 3's cancel out, and we are left with 2 over x plus 5. Okay, so hopefully you guys got that one. Well done. Let's try section B. So 7b, we had x squared minus x minus 6 all over 5 brackets x plus 2. Okay, so again, kind of using our logic, we know that we're going to have an x plus 2 in our numerator, or else nothing will cancel. So then 2 times negative 3 will work, because that gives me negative 6, and negative 3x plus a 2x would be a negative 1x. Okay, that is all over 5 brackets x plus 2. Now we need to cancel that down, and that gives us a final answer of x minus 3 all over 5. Okay, so well done on that one, guys. Right, so let's move you to full screen again. I'd like you to try all of these questions here. So you're going to need to press pause, please, and have a go. Okay, well done on that. Let's take a look at the solutions together. Good, lovely. Okay, right, so I'm just going to switch pen. I'm running out of ink. Hold on. There we go, lovely. Okay, right, so in question 8a, we had x squared plus 8x plus 15 all over x squared plus 2x minus 15. Okay, so we now need to factorize both the numerator and the denominator separately. For this one, okay, 3 times 5 is 15, 3 plus 5 is 8, so we have x plus 3 and x plus 5. Okay, looking at our denominator, we want to add to 2. We want to multiply to a negative 15. So I know it's 3 times 5. That's a difference of 2, but the 5 is going to be positive. So we have x minus 3 and x plus 5. Why? Because 5 minus 3 would give me the 2 when I simplify my x terms. Okay, now we can cancel down the x plus 5's, leaving us with x plus 3 over x minus 3. Okay, so hopefully we got that one. Well done, those of you who did. Okay, if not, hopefully that makes sense now. Part B, we have x squared minus 11x plus 30 all over x squared plus x minus 42. Okay, so let's take a look at our numerator first. Okay, we know those are x's. Right, I need to multiply to 30, but add to negative 11. So think about it. 5 times 6 is 30. 5 plus 6 is 11. They both have to be negative because it's negative 11. Okay, so we've got minus 5 minus 6. Moving on to our denominator. We have x, okay? And we want to multiply to negative 42 and have an added addition of 1. Okay, the other way to think about this, if that's negative, I could think of a difference of 1. All right, so 7 times 6 would give me 42. It has a difference of 1, except I want it to be positive, so I better make the 7 positive. So plus 7 and a minus 6. Those cancel down, leaving us with x minus 5 over x plus 7, final answer. Okay, and moving on to part C, let's take a look. We had x squared minus 25 over x plus 5 squared. Okay, so the top we should recognize as difference of squares. So that's x plus 5 and x minus 5. Remember, 5 is the square root of 25. We need a plus and a minus there for difference of squares. And here we can expand this to being x plus 5 times x plus 5. Okay, one of those will cancel out, and we get a final answer of x minus 5 over x plus 5. Okay, lovely. Right, we then moved on to an exam question. So let's take a look at that. Right, so they've said to simplify x squared plus 14x plus 49 all over x squared minus 49. Now it's a 3-mark question. You're getting 1 mark for factorizing this correctly, 1 mark for factorizing the denominator correctly, and the other mark for canceling down and getting your final answer. Okay, so let's do our factorizing. Okay, so we've got x, and then it has to multiply to 49. Okay, and the only 2 things I can think of that do that are 2 7s, so 7 times 7 is 49, or 1 times 49, but that definitely doesn't have a difference of 14, or it doesn't add to 14. So plus 7, 7 times 7 is 49, 7 plus 7 is 14, so I know that that works. Okay, and that is all over difference of squares, so x plus 7 and x minus 7, because the square root of 49 is 7, and remember that plus and minus sign. One of those cancels out, and that gives us x plus 7 over x minus 7, final answer. Okay, so well done on those. We're going to now take a look at a slightly more involved example, okay? So last lesson we reviewed how to factorize when we had a coefficient of the x squared that was greater than 1, and that is what we have here. So when you do these types of questions, we do need to do a little bit of added work in our margin because it's not so simple as just guessing and testing. You can guess and test as you get good at this, but I don't think we're there yet, okay? So we've got 10 part A, which we'll model for you. So 2x squared minus x minus 3 all over 3x squared plus x minus 2. Okay, I'm going to do some work in my margin here. So we're going to start with our 2x squared minus x minus 3. I need to think about the fact that I need to multiply this coefficient, the 2, by the constant first, okay? So 2 times negative 3 is equal to negative 6. I am now looking for 2 numbers that will multiply to negative 6, but add to this number here, which is actually a negative 1. Okay, so I need 2 numbers that multiply to negative 6 and add to negative 1. Now I'm hoping you know that that would be a negative 3 and a 2. Okay, so those are my 2 numbers. I can now create my brackets. So this started with a 2, so in my brackets I'm going to have 2x in both of those brackets. Okay, and then I'm going to put my minus 3 and my plus 2. You'll notice you can't cancel this down, but this you can. 2 and 2 both divide by 2. So what we end up with is 2x minus 3 and then times x plus 1. Okay, so what I've done is I've canceled those down into 1s. And that is our method to get our factorized brackets. Okay, so now I can go back to my question and I can say that the numerator is 2x minus 3 brackets x plus 1. Okay, and now again in the margin I have to do a little bit of work on this one. So we've got 3x squared plus x minus 2. We're going to do 3 times the negative 2, which is negative 6. Okay, so I am wanting, sorry, that's a bit messy. I am wanting to get negative 6 when I multiply. Okay, and I want to add to this number here, which is a plus 1. All right, so this time I'm going to have a 3 and a negative 2 because I needed to add to 1 instead of this example where I added to negative 1. So we now have a 3x, so we need to write 3x plus the 3 and 3x minus the 2. Okay, this is the one that cancels to a 1 and a 1, so that gives us x plus 1 and 3x minus 2. Okay, that's factorized now. I can put that in my denominator. So that is x plus 1 and 3x minus 2. Okay, you'll notice that it's the x plus 1s that cancel. Okay, and that gives us 2x minus 3 all over 3x minus 2. All right, so I'm hoping that makes sense. Okay, I am going to walk through these other two with you. All right, because I think it's important that you see two more examples, and then you're going to try a question. Okay, so let's take a look. So for part B, we have 5x squared plus 14x minus 3 all over 6x squared plus 23x plus 15. Okay, so let's take a look at our first one. We're 5x squared plus 14x minus 3. We need to do 5 times the negative 3, which is equal to negative 15. So I need to make sure that I am multiplying to negative 15, but I am adding to the 14. Okay, let's have a think. I could have a positive 15 and a negative 1, and that would add to 14, but multiply to negative 15. I create my brackets. This time my coefficient is 5, so I've got 5x in both brackets, okay, and we have a 15, so plus 15, and then a minus 1. All right, this is the one that cancels down. That becomes a 1. That becomes a 3 when I divide by 5. So finally I have x plus 3 and 5x minus 1, okay, and we can now replace my numerator with the factorized version of x plus 3 and 5x minus 1. Okay, so hopefully that works. Let's take a look at the next one. We had 6x squared plus 23x plus 15. Okay, so first we're going to do 6 times 15, and 6 times 15 is 30 times 3, which is 90. Okay, so there we go. I need it to add to 23, but multiply to 90. That's a little bit harder to work out, so let's have a think about how we can get 90. Okay, let's make sure you can see that as well. So we're going to go through our factor pairs, 1 times 90, no, 1 plus 90 is 91. 2 times 45, still too big, 47 is not 23. Let's try 5. 5 times 18, oh, that works because 5 plus 18 is 23. Okay, so I've got my values. We're going to write the coefficient of 6, so we've got 6x plus the 5 and 6x plus the 18. That's the one that cancels down. Divide by 6 to get 1 and 3. So finally I have 6x plus 5 and x plus 3, which I can now write in my denominator. Okay, so we had 6x plus 5 and x plus 3, and now we can cancel those two down, giving us a final answer of 5x minus 1 over 6x plus 5. Okay, so well done on that one. Right, one more example to go through as a group, and then I'm going to let you try the exam question, okay? Okay, so for part C, we have 25x squared minus 1 all over 25x squared plus 10x plus 1. Okay, so difference of squares, just remember that the square root of 25x squared is 5x, okay, and we know that the square root of 1 is 1, and so on the top, that's easier for us to do, that's 5x plus 1 and 5x minus 1 for the difference of squares. Okay, now let's take a look at this one here. We'll do that on the side. We've got 25x squared plus 10x plus 1. I know that 25 times 1 is equal to 25. Okay, so I'm going to need to multiply to 25, but add to the 10. All right, and 5 times 5 will work. Okay, so we know that 5 times 5 is equal to 25, and it adds to 10, 5 plus 5. So we start with a 25. Okay, so we've got 25x and another 25x. Okay, and both of them are plus 5s in this case because those were our values, 5 times 5 and 5 plus 5. now they both cancel down. Okay, so we need to do that. And that is going to give us, when I divide by 5, 5x plus 1, because that became a 5 and a 1. And this one here also becomes 5x plus 1. Okay, because that becomes a 5 and a 1. All right, so in our denominator, we can write that out now. 5x plus 1 and 5x plus 1. Okay, and that will cancel, leaving us with 5x minus 1 all over 5x plus 1. Okay, guys, it's your turn. So let's get you to do this exam question. Please, can you pause, okay, and try that, and then we'll go through the answers together. Hi, everyone. Okay, thanks for working on that question. We're going to go through the solutions now. Let's just pull up the visualizer. There we go. Okay, turn that light on for you. Lovely. All right, so for question 11, you got 1 mark for successfully factorizing the quadratic in the numerator. In the first instance, we needed to look for 2 numbers that multiplied to -4 and added to 3. Okay, that would have been a 4 and a -1, so those were my brackets. Okay, a little bit more involved for the one in the denominator because it had a coefficient greater than 1. So over to the side. 2 times 3 is 6, okay, so I needed 2 numbers that multiplied to 6 but added to -5, and in this case that was a -2 and a -3. Remember that we started with a 2x squared, so in my brackets I had a 2x and a 2x, and then I put down my 2 values here, -2 and -3. This one canceled to an x minus 1 and a 2x minus 3, which I put into the denominator. That then allowed me to cancel my x minus 1 and x minus 1, which gives us a final answer of x plus 4 all over 2x minus 3. Okay, so that completes the exam question. Hopefully you guys do really well on that. Right, so I'm going to make this full screen again so you can see more easily. Okay, please can you complete this, press pause, try the questions, and then we will go through them together. Okay. What you'll notice, as per normal, is they tend to, on these longer questions, give you a bit of a hint for part A. Part A of question 12 says to copy and complete. And what they're asking you to do is factor out a -1. Okay, oops, sorry. So we have 6 minus x, and they want you to make that negative something in a bracket. Well, if I divide 6 by -1, remember that's technically -1, okay? 6 divided by -1 is -6, all right? And then negative x divided by -1 is a plus x. All right, so actually I could rewrite that out as -1 times x minus 6. Okay, and what that does is it leads me into part B, because in part B they want us to simplify these two. Okay, so we start with part 1, which says 6 minus x all over x minus 6. Now, if we've already done this, we know that 6 minus x can become negative of x minus 6. So let's change this. So we get negative brackets x minus 6 all over the x minus 6, which actually means those cancel out. Okay, I'll put the bracket around that to make that easier to see. Those cancel out, and this means -1, so we are left with just -1. Okay, -1 divided by 1 is -1. That's our final answer. Okay, so for part 2, they have said that we have 36 minus x squared all over, where are we? X squared minus 3x minus 18. Let's apply this logic here. I don't like the way that's laid out. Okay, so instead, we're going to change this to the negative of x squared minus 36. Do exactly what we did in this previous question here, except this time we have 36 minus x squared instead of having 6 minus x. Okay, and that is all over our x squared minus 3x minus 18. Now I can do difference of squares for here. Okay, so we have negative out in front, and then our two brackets, okay, x plus 6 and x minus 6, okay, all over, let's figure this one out. We need to multiply to negative 18, but add to negative 3. Okay, so 6 times 3 has a difference of 3. That will work, but we're going to want a negative 6. So we have x minus 6, okay, and we have x plus 3. And we can see that the x minus 6's cancel out, and that's going to give us negative of x plus 6 all over x plus 3, and we can leave that as our final answer. Okay, that's perfectly fine. So well done on that question. A little bit trickier, but remember we can pull out or divide out a negative to help us when we're simplifying. Right, so let's take a look at question 13. Okay. All right, there we go. And we're going to apply this to the ones here where it helps us. Okay, so in this first one, definitely going to help us because, again, I've got that turned a little bit around. Okay, x squared minus 4x. So let's change the top to negative and then x squared minus 16. Much easier to work with the difference of squares. I can factorize the bottom now by taking out the x, and that leaves me with x minus 4. Okay, we can see where this is going, hopefully. Difference of squares, we've got an x plus 4 and an x minus 4, okay, and that is all over x times x minus 4. Cancel those out. Lovely, and that's going to give us negative brackets x plus 4 all over x, and I'm happy for it to stay like that as your final answer. You would get your marks, okay? So that was part A. Let's now take a look at part B. We have x squared minus 12x plus 36 all over 2x squared minus 72. All right, let's work on the top first. Okay, so we have x and another x. I need to multiply to positive 36 but add to negative 12. So both numbers are going to have to be negative, and the only ones that work are negative 6 times negative 6. So that's minus 6 minus 6 all over. I can divide out the 2 first. So that's going to give me 2 times x squared minus 36. We should now recognize difference of squares. So we've got x minus 6 all over 2 brackets x plus 6 and x minus 6. 2 of those cancel out, giving us a final answer of x minus 6 all over 2 brackets x plus 6. Okay, so well done, guys, if you got that. That's excellent. Okay, and the last of these questions, let's take a look. Okay, so we have, for part C, 6x squared minus 10x all over 6x squared minus 19x plus 15. Okay, so at this stage we want to think about factorizing the top first. It's a bit easier. I have a common factor of 2x, okay, and that leaves me with 3x minus 5. Okay, let's work with this one on the side. So we've got 6x squared minus 19x plus 15. Okay, 6 times 15 is 90, right? So I need to multiply to 90, but add to negative 19. Okay, 9 times 10 is 90. If I make them both negative, I'll still get a positive 90 when I multiply. So that's a 6x. Remember, my brackets are going to be 6x. I'm using a minus 9 and a minus 10. So minus 9, and then 6x minus 10. Okay, I can cancel this one down by dividing by 3 to give me a 2 and a 3. So we end up with 2x minus 3. And 6x minus 10. Right, I can also cancel this down, so make sure you do. That's 2x minus 3. 6x minus 10 divides by 2, giving us a 3 and a 5, okay? So that will be 3x minus 5. Can't cancel any more down. That's my final, okay? So I can put this here. We get 2x minus 3 and 3x minus 5. That's fully factorized now, and we can see that those two will cancel out, giving us a final answer of 2x over 2x minus 3. Okay, so well done, guys. Okay, that's almost as challenging as it gets. Okay, but this next question, I want you to really try, factorize everything you can in the numerator and the denominator. Press pause, have a go, see what happens, and we'll go through the solution. So please press pause now. Okay, welcome back, guys. Okay, so this question has asked us to show that this fairly complicated fraction is actually only equal to negative 2x over 7. So let's see what we can do to work with this. Well, first of all, I need to write it out so that we can work with it. So we've got x squared plus x minus 12 in a bracket, and then x squared plus 2x minus 3 in a bracket. Then we have 10x squared plus 12x all in a bracket. Okay, I definitely want to use a ruler for this one, okay, because I'm going to, it won't look very nice if I don't use a ruler. There we go. Okay, so 9 minus x squared, 5x squared plus 26x plus 24, okay, and 7x minus 7. I'm not going to write down what it's meant to equal. That's what I need to show. Okay, so let's start with the numerator because that looks a little bit easier than the denominator. So for this first one, I need obviously two brackets because it's quadratic. Okay, x multiplying to negative 12, adding to a positive 1 is going to be a plus 4 and a minus 3. So I know that that one's done. In fact, I'm going to tick it because I've got a lot to work with here. Okay, and let's look at the second one. Again, we're going to need two brackets, x, multiply to negative 3, but add to 2. That's going to be a plus 3 and a minus 1. Okay, I know I've done that one, so I'm going to tick it. And now let's look at this last situation. Here it's simple factorizing. It's a little bit less involved than these ones. I can have 2x coming out of both of these. So that I'm going to put in a bracket actually to make it easier. And that leaves me with 5x plus 6. Okay, and then that one's done. So I know I finished that. Let's get our line drawn. Oof, just long enough, this ruler. Okay, and now let's take a look at this one here. I'm going to pull out the negative because this is turned around than the way I like it for difference of squares. So we have negative of, in this case, x squared minus 9. Okay, so that sorts out that bit for now. Then here, I'm going to do a little bit of work on the side. So let's do that down here so it's out of my way. So let's have 5x squared plus 26x plus 24. Okay, 5 times 24 is equal to 120. So I need to multiply to 120, but add to 26. Okay, so can we think of anything that does that? Absolutely, 6 times 20. That's lovely. So a 6 and a 20. We start with a 5x. So I've got 5x and a 5x. Okay, my numbers are a plus 6 and a plus 20. Okay, this one doesn't cancel, but this one does. It cancels by 5, giving me 5x plus 6 and x plus 4. Lovely. Okay, so now I can put this in place of this. So let's do that. So we've got 5x plus 6 and x plus 4. And at this stage, definitely tick that one off. We fully factorized it. Okay, and here I can take out a 7, so I'm left with a 7, okay, and an x minus 1 in brackets. So that one's finished. We're not quite done the denominator though, okay, and it is a bit long-winded, but in an exam you'd have to write this all out again because we're not there yet. So the top just stays all the same, x plus 4, x minus 3, x plus 3, x minus 1, 2x, and 5x plus 6. Okay, let's get our line drawn. Okay, and let's finish this denominator. We do have a negative out in front, okay, but this is difference of squares. So this is x plus 3 and x minus 3, and then we can write everything else out, 5x plus 6, x plus 4, a 7, and an x minus 1. Now's the fun bit. We can cancel everything down. Okay, so first I'm going to start with this x plus 3 cancels with that x plus 3. That's done. A negative 3 with an x negative 3. Okay, fine. What else? 5x plus 6, 5x plus 6. Oh, look, x plus 4, x plus 4. X minus 1, x minus 1. Nothing else cancels. So I am left with 2x in my numerator and a negative 7 in my denominator. The question asked us to write it like this, which is exactly the same thing, and now you've shown it, and that is beautiful. Right, I think you've worked really hard today. That was not the easiest thing to do, okay? Really proud of you. If you didn't quite get it, go through this video again and make sure you try those questions again. You need to nail this, you need to get it correct, okay? And you do need to practice that factorizing quadratics. So really proud of you today. Thoroughly enjoyed that. I hope you did too, and well done.